Welcome back, everybody. This is Anna May from Accelerated Excellence and True Awakenings NLP Coaching and Training Center. Happy to be back here giving you some more information. Leading on from the video that I did yesterday in regards to that our bodies are made up of energy and that we vibrate this unique frequency of who we are onto this beautiful field of entanglement. So what I want to talk about today is, I'm sure you guys starting to wonder about, okay, great, those are big concepts. So what do I do? How do I affect this frequency other than just doing the meditation, and what else affects it, and what influences this internal frequency that I create unconsciously? Of course, it's not like we wake up in the mornings and stare at the mirror and go, I'm going to do this type of frequency for today. So if our bodies are made up of this energy and of this frequency, then how do we mindfully and consciously influence it and take it where we want it to go? So I thought, there's three concepts I'm going to touch on in the next couple of videos. The first one, we're going to talk about the powerful nervous system. Secondly, our own personal filtering system, which is also referred to as the reticular activating system, or shortened for RAS. And then the actual filters within the RAS, within the reticular activating system, that filters all of this information that comes through the nervous system. And how that produces and affects our outcomes and results. Okay, so let's start off with the nervous system for this recording, and then I will give you some more information around the rest of the system as we go through it. So the nervous system is quite a phenomenal thing that we receive through our senses. The environment around us sends through information all the time, and through our five senses we process about 11 million bytes of information per second. Okay, so this is called the Mathematical Theory of Communication, which is an article that was published by Claude E. Shannon in 1948. He's a mathematician, and they actually calculated and said that the different senses pick up different bits per second of information. Eyes is 10 million. The skin is 1 million, ears 100,000, smell 100,000, taste about 1,000. So all these senses combined around 11 million bits of information that we receive through our nervous system. So information coming through my eyes, then eyes converting it into pictures, information coming through my ears, converting it into sound. Your skin, which is the largest organ of your body, receives this information from outside. Feeling, touch, anything that you put your hands onto your body, you feel your clothes around your skin. So a lot of information coming through the skin as well. So, and many of researchers thought that the human brain would be incredibly fast and have this tremendous capacity for processing, and that there must be some conscious intellectual process. And what they found, shockingly, was that consciously and in an aware space, we are processing about 50 bits per second out of that 11 million. So quite a massive reduction in information that the body receives volumes of it, and then it goes through this process of elimination that the conscious mind only actually has an awareness of 50 of those bits every single second. So I'm going to put onto the recording, and when I post it, I'll put on a little table where you can see the actual sensors and exactly how many they filter through. So there was two problems here that they found with this. And first problem was determining how long does it take to compress this information, and secondly, where is the processing power? Where is this happening? If the conscious mind is only processing 50 bits per second, where's most of this processing then happening? And first solution they found with approximately about half a second delay between the instant that senses receive the stimulus and that the mind is consciously aware of the sensation. Okay, so to compensate for that delay, the body has a reflex system that can respond in less than 1/10 of a second, which is a reaction system, right? So this half a second delay seems to be the speed of this reduction from 11 million to 50 bits. Okay, so that's a lot, right? So what they found is the conscious processing speed is around 220, 225 kilometers per second, And then what happens to the rest? What most people refer to this as the subconscious mind, and in the world of NLP, we refer to it as the unconscious mind. And it's really because of these programs that's being installed in the unconscious part of the mind that we are not consciously aware of. And that is like the autopilot. That's where it's the programming that runs behind the scenes. It's like your processor on your computer. It's the fastest supercomputer that you will ever find. And that much of what has been installed is then being run by this unconscious part of our mind, and that 95 to 97% of us is being driven there. There's just too much happening on a speed space for the conscious mind to actually process. And let me demonstrate the difference. So conscious mind processing speed is about 220 to 25. Unconscious processing speed, 160,000 kilometers per second. Right? So that is incredibly fast. Dr. Paul Goodwin, quantum physicist, also said that there is more possible neurological connections than what there is atoms in the entire universe. So our physical nervous system is capable of neurological connections, and I want you to go and write down this number, 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 11. So that's the number 10 with 10 zeros behind us, written down 11 times. It's a phenomenal large number, and that's not all that we're capable of doing. That's just all what we could calculate, that the nervous system is capable of making these possible neurological connections. So the brain is this hub of neurological connections, which means that certain things connect to other things. So and we'll get to the third topic of the actual filters, and those are the installed programs. And then once they're installed, they run on this autopilot. So if you put your hand on a hot stove as a child and you burn your fingers, immediately there's an electrical current that runs through the brain, and there's a pain. That reflex system goes, oh, that's sore, let's not do that again. It's trying to preserve you, trying to protect you, so you don't actually go and harm yourself again afterwards. So that volume of pain is actually a volume of electrical current that's running through the brain and instantaneously creates this connection. So every time you look at the stove, you'll have a memory of it. It's connected somewhere in the brain to that memory, and it will recall it every time you look at it. So even when you're home alone and you know you haven't switched on the stove and you're about to go and use it, but you're not sure, you just want to double check, you still touch that thing so damn quickly just to make sure it's not on, and because of that connection that's still running in the brain. Now, the good news is you don't need to be a brain surgeon to make changes in your neurology, and everything that we thought we knew prior to this in the 90s, physics and science has proven false to us today. You know, we thought we were hardwired, and with brain plasticity or neural plasticity, we now realize that we are not hardwired, and that we can change these wirings in these unconscious programs. And generally when people say, I want to make changes, they'll say change is hard, right? And you've said to yourself, you know, we sign up for gym every time on the 1st of January, in the beginning of the year, we make New Year's resolutions, and then we're going to turn into a shape other than round, and we are so focused on. And then on week 3, we're back onto the couch because that neurological connection hasn't yet changed, you know. So we haven't fired enough new neurological connections for a new habit to form, which is why you all read and have heard a million times that it takes 21 days to form a habit. So it depends on the intensity of the neurological connection. So if you touch your hand, if you touch a hot stove, you don't have to do it 21 times to realize it's not a good idea. When you start something new, there's not necessarily that much intensity in the electrical impulse in the brain. Hence, it needs repetition. So the mind thrives on repetition to install new habits, and that's why it takes 21 days. If you do it every single day, and we have 21 days for this lockdown of staying at home and being safe. And so it's the perfect time for you to do something every day, one thing that can build a new connection, that can build a new habit and install a new behavior in, and then runs on autopilot in the unconscious. And that's where the magic lies, you know. So we were conditioned and we were taught to think that our conscious awareness, our intellectual space, is where everything is happening, and we think we're that part. Now, think of when you wake up in the morning and it's time for you to wake up and face the world, and let's say you want to go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, have a shower, do whatever you do. You get up, you don't actually tell yourself to open up your eyelids and create the liquid around your eye and remember to blink. And so while you're busy doing that, okay, can I breathe? And while I'm busy breathing, okay, heart, can you start beating? I mean, all of these things are running and they are constantly working. You know, that the brain is never off, it never sleeps, it's always running and it's breathing for you while you're sleeping. So when you're sleeping, it's the conscious part of the mind that's on snooze, not the unconscious. That still runs. So it's not two separate minds, it's one mind. We're just aware of the one part. And the conscious part that we are aware of and that we've thought, which is also home to our ego, is the part that we've always thought is running the show. And it's 3% of us. So, so that's a bit of a letdown for all those people that love their ego so much. I'm teasing. But there's a place for everything, and everything exists with purpose. So the ego is important, and the conscious mind is important. This is where your rational, thinking, objective, analytical part of your brain is. And when you think of the unconscious and the parts that's running underneath, it's home to emotions. So what's happening is when you receive information from the outside environment through your senses, it's going to get your attention through your body. You're going to feel something. There's some sort of an emotion that's going to come up. So if you are consistently thinking of a certain thought and it starts running on autopilot and it runs in the unconscious all the time, you're going to start feeling this specific emotion all the time. You know, so if we are paying attention to the news or the negativity on social media, all those type of things, you are bombarding your nervous system with this information from the outside that induces the feeling of fear. Now, I can't control what other people do, but I certainly can control my environment and what my connection to the information is, so that if I know my nervous system is going to be affected by that, then let me put in my environment only what serves me in terms of where I want to go, in terms of how I want to feel. And I'm going to break down why that's so incredibly important, what this feeling and this internal state is all about. We're going to talk about that in the next recording when I cover the reticular activating system, which is really just the gatekeeper of this information processing system. So it's just above the brainstem as it goes into the brain. So the nervous system, so the eyes and the ears come through directly, and the rest of the senses comes through the reticular activating system. So controlling your environment is really, really important. As, like I said, your nervous system is receiving this information from your environment. So whatever and whoever you have around you is going to influence the information that you experience internally and what you are going to process. Okay, so out of 11 million bits that's available, and if you are only lining up with 50, make sure the 50 is what you want. Michael Caine's an actor that was interviewed years ago for getting his recipe on success in Australia. And he said he didn't listen to other people's reasons for not living the life of their dreams or for not achieving what they wanted to. And then he added he didn't want to be convinced by them. So that's quite a powerful statement, right? Because if I'm paying attention to what is in my environment, sometimes we're accepting things that we don't even know we're accepting. It's running so fast, right? You're 160,000 kilometers per second. Think of it when you were a child and mom or dad said, this is white. Like who decided this is white? And how do I know that's white? And but that's just the back of a page, and that's just the color. So how important is color to me, really? So I don't check it necessarily, and I just accept it to be a truth. Now, beliefs are formed that way, and they don't necessarily have to be backed up by any form of evidence. It's just a decision that we make. I decide to agree with someone, and then that decision becomes my belief, and that becomes one of my filters, and that is part of what chooses the 50 that I get out of the 11 million that's available. So I'm going to talk about those filters in greater detail and give you tips and tricks on how to pay attention to what has been accepted in your filters, what is choosing the 50 that you land up with now, and how can I start choosing a different set of information that gets me to feel the way I need to feel, to vibrate the way I need to vibrate, to create the health that I need, to keep my immune system where it needs to be, and to achieve any goal that you want to set out to. Because if my nervous system is that phenomenal, and if I'm capable of making such neurological connections, there's an article as well posted on a guy that asked his father-in-law if he could do an autopsy on him once he's passed. He was a great chess player and a good mathematician, and he said, sure, when I'm not here anymore, he said, by all means, investigate what's in there. And when his son-in-law had the autopsy done, they found that he had no brain. He had the brain membrane, and it was filled with water, and the brain stem was there. And it was almost like the duties of the organ of the brain had been distributed to every single cell in the body. And it's like, think of it in a working environment, like one person is off sick today and they have a list of 10 things that they need to do. So those 10 things are given, one thing's given to 10 other staff members, and the job gets spread over what is existing and left. So that guy led a absolutely normal life, having no idea that he actually didn't have a brain. I know, you think that you know a million people like that. It's not actually that common. It's common, but it's not common. I'm joking. So the nervous system is incredible about being able to distribute and transmutate what it needs to, and still pick up the function and still be able to deliver and rewire in a way that you could still actually live a totally fulfilled life. Now, if he could live without a brain, then perhaps the intellectual awareness that we think we have is not in the brain as the organ itself, but it's the vehicle that it travels through. It's the processing center, and it's a phenomenal center. It's one of your brain cells. It's more complexly wired than the entire telephone network system in the world. You know, more atoms than in the entire universe is what our nervous system is capable of connecting with. So think about that. I want you to ponder about how amazing your physical body is. That's why people can do instantaneous healing and miraculous healing. And if you want to go and Google cure cancer in under 3 minutes, Greg Braden, there's on YouTube a clip there that shows you about the power of people's belief and how the simple exercise in less than 3 minutes, the physical body responded to the thoughts that was held in the patient's mind and in the practitioner's mind. So I want to break it down and leave it there for you. I want you to think about what it is that your ideal life would look like. If I had a magic wand and you could ask me for anything, what would you ask for? You know, I'm not a genie with just 3 questions. You can ask as many as you like. And should your mind be able to conceive it and you believe it, you can achieve it. So Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you can't, you'll be right. And the nervous system is simply just a receiving center of information, and that's going to extract the information that you're asking for. So think of your mind as Google. You've got this worldwide web of 11 million bits of information, but what are you typing into your Google search bar? That's the 50 you're going to land up with. So start thinking about that for me, and I'll put some research material, again, links onto this post for you to have a look at, just to see where this information comes from, and if you want the backing of it. And in the next recording, I'm going to talk about the specific reticular activation system, which is this filtering system, and how it works and how we can affect change in the filters itself. Okay, so think about what it is you want and be as specific as you need to be, because the clearer you are with what you type into your Google search bar, the clearer the results will be. For example, if I say I want to go and travel, I want to go on holiday, I think you'll get a lot of specials now. So where is it that you want to go? You'll get international packages, you'll get cruises, you'll get beach holidays, bush holidays, skiing holidays. What is it that I'm looking for? If I'm saying, no, I want to go to wine farms, you know, there's still wine farms all over the planet. So if I want to go to Cape Town wine farms, which one? What about the Warwick Wine Estate in Stellenbosch? That's very specific, right? So when I type that into my Google search bar, it'll be right on information that comes back. So I want you to think of your nervous system exactly like that. It's literally a processing center. So what are you typing into your Google search bar? I want you to think about that. Think about the one thing that's going to make the most profound change in your life right now, because we want to work through these recordings on that theme with every little exercise that we do. Okay, so yesterday was all about meditation, getting the mind still, and that's sort of going back inside to our true selves. And today I'm talking about how phenomenal the nervous system is. So hang on to your hats. I'll give you some more information on the RAS tomorrow, on how specifically it's going to filter information around this outcome that I want you to think about. Okay, so sending you much love and see you in the next recording.